Languages to music. Languages to music. Languages to music. Languages to music.
So welcome everybody to the Languages Through Music podcast. Very happy to have the wonderful Philippa Ndisi-Herrmann with us today. Welcome, Philippa.
Thank you. Asante. Asante,
Hey,
Dada.
Karibu Dada. Really happy to have you join all the way from Nairobi. I wish I could teleport and just be sitting with you asking you these questions. But we are in spirit.
And you have permission to teleport.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
If I can learn 100 Swahili words by the end of this course, I will magically obtain this ability. So you are an amazing storyteller, and you tell beautiful stories visually and in your writing and in your music and in your playlist. And so when the chance came up to interview artists for this, I knew I had to include you. So just have a few questions around music, memories, languages, etc. So can you think of the first music-related memory you have? Maybe the earliest song you can remember, or a song on the radio, or a music video, or someone playing an instrument. Just the first one.
Okay, so firstly, thank you for the compliments about my work.
Truth.
And about my person.
100%. La vérité.
Merci. I think I have two, and they're very short, or maybe three. One is my auntie, maybe when we were 5, she had the Tracy Chapman tape, the first one, the first album. Yeah.
My dad too, in the car all the time.
Yeah, in the car. And my cousin's family, they had a Pajero Trooper. And of course, my auntie had those big glasses, and we were living in Kenya. And you just have like 3 tapes that you just keep turning. I remember that album and Emotions by Mariah Carey.
Yeah.
And I only realized, I always thought it was Hiya Mama, but it's like not that. Yeah, and then also, sorry.
Have you read her book?
Mariah Carey?
Yeah, she just put out a book last year.
No,
it's wonderful. Wow. Yeah.
I think she's a Pisces. I remember looking at her chart and I was really like, she just has such a her energy is so Pisces and Neptunian. It's so healing. She's very healing. I find it.
She's funny. If you read this book,
Whoa.
She cracks me up. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, most def I'll read it. And also just in, at least at that time, Lingala music, Sukus music was so popular. So especially the people, because we have people in Kenya who work in the house, and they would play a lot of music of Kandan Bogoman and Franco and Billy Abel. My dad used to also play Billy Abel, so it always stirs my childhood memories.
Yeah, there's an Billy Abel tune in the playlist actually for this course. I love her voice so much.
Yeah.
Please tell me which languages you speak, which ones you've studied, and which ones you would like to learn.
Okay, so English is my mother tongue. I think the language I speak after that, I think the language I speak best is French. I'm not fluent. I can speak it, but not particularly well, but I love it and I would like to become fluent. I guess Swahili after that, but sometimes people laugh at my Swahili, I won't lie.
It's okay. Sometimes people laugh. Well, people always laugh at my Tigrinya. People still laugh at my various other.
Yeah, so, but A for effort with my Swahili. And I'd love to learn Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Do you speak Italian as well?
Oh, I understand some of it. I actually understand it pretty well because my cousin is half Italian, and I lived with them some of the time, and with her auntie when I lived in Lamu. So I love Italian. Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Tell me, in terms of African languages, since Beaux-Arts, well, this is a focus on different African languages, are there any African languages you would particularly like to know besides Tigrinya and Amharic to order your favorite food in?
But also, sorry, a language I forgot to mention is I do speak also the language of love.
I was informed that is actually French, because a guy was hitting on me in a park here years ago, and I was just like, I'm so sorry, but I don't speak French. And he's like, quoi? Tu parles pas la langue? Mais c'est la langue d'amour. And I was just like, sorry, I don't understand. Yeah. So yeah.
So what languages? I think I mean, on my mother's side, which is Kenyan, she's half Kikuyu and half Luo. And she actually grew up with English as her mother tongue, despite being two tribes. At the time, it was let's say like in the 50s, 60s Kenya, like post-independence, and my grandfather also worked for the government. It was kind of looked down upon, not looked down upon, but it was just seemed to be better to speak the Queen's English.
Of course, yeah.
So my grandparents spoke Swahili together, but my mom and her siblings spoke English. And it's strange because I've been back in Kenya for like 2 months now. I came for a month and I've been on a hiatus, and I've noticed the languages a lot more. So I've never been like the biggest fan of the way Kikuyu sounds, but it sounds beautiful. And Baluhia, that's one of it's a language from Western Kenya. Whoa!
Never, ever heard of that in my life.
It is beautiful. I mean, I think they have different dialects within Baluhia, like depending on the peoples, but it has a little bit of a sound.
Okay.
So I just love how it sounds. It's very musical. I'll see if I can find something to share with you.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, I think I'd love to improve my Swahili. Lingala, of course, is very curious.
I love Lingala. Just from the music, I'm in love.
Yeah, and I guess... And I told you I got a pedicure done just now, and there was an Ethiopian hairdresser who was doing an Ethiopian lady's hair, and they were speaking Amharic, and I was like, oh my God, transport me to Addis. So yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, cool. Do you have any favorite words or expressions in Swahili, or you mentioned your childhood memories, are there any favorite artists you have who sing in Swahili, or songs in particular?
Okay, let me think. Musicians singing in Swahili, I won't say, I can't think of one that comes to mind. I mean, Tarab music, you have like Tarab music at the coast. Like Zanzibar, Lamu, that's very Arabic, but it's in Swahili and it's very beautiful as well. But I wouldn't put my finger on that specifically. Of course, Biki Jude is very famous for being a Zanzibari musician.
Okay.
Words in Swahili, well, like I told you, my friend Emil was talking about Haja Ndogo and Haja Kubwa, which... So haja is like the needs. Haja ndogo is like when you need to go to the bathroom and you want to do number 1 and pee. And number 2 is haja kubwa, a big need.
Okay.
So there's some things that I just love about Swahili in that way, and that's proper Swahili. You know, in Kenya, it's more crude when you speak. Correct. You see, like that's so like it's not a euphemism, but it's like so indirect what's being said.
Yeah,
you know, it's like going to see a man. Sorry.
So in Tanzania, the Swahili in general is more indirect, or more?
No, yeah, it's more indirect. So it's like saying I'm going to see a man about a dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I love about Swahili is, like, for example, when you're saying, if you're hungry, you say ninasikia njaa, or I'm thirsty, ninasikia kiu. I hear or I feel hunger. I feel skia, like sikiliza. I mean, I'm not like a Swahili pro, but it's that whole idea of hearing and feeling, and I like that they're mixed together.
Yeah.
So there's just, I find that it's a much more gentle and sincere way of communicating. If I think maybe I may think of some words as we progress with the podcast.
Yeah, sure. I think it sounds beautiful. I want to learn some more. My next question is around your experience of learning languages at school. So whether it was positive, less positive, any teachers that stood out? Did you ever encounter music being used to learn a language at school, or how did you experience that?
So the languages I learned in school was there was a week of Spanish, but I did it more because it was cool to do Spanish, and I just didn't get it, so I dropped out. Yeah, I dropped out. I was like, where's the j? Like, where are all the things in the beginning to tell you what the word is? You know?
Yeah.
I did German a bit in school. French, like, I pursued from like when I was 7, but I was in a, like, we're learning French in a school is so different. So when I moved to France when I was 16 to go to boarding school and do my bac, that's where I really, you really learn a language when you're forced to speak it. And of course in France, like, they will make you speak French, you know, and they will correct you.
Yeah. This is true.
But also when we were, so I went to a British school in Kenya, British schools in Kenya, which already is, you know, in retrospect quite problematic, but they were some of the best schools. So my parents took me there, were fortunate to take me there. And at that time, Swahili wasn't offered. So that's also why my Swahili's
wasn't offered.
No way, Jose. You know. Yeah, it's very sad. Very, very sad. So you do have people like myself who've gone to these schools, but then we're not able to really, really connect on a deep level unless we've actually gone to learn Swahili. And but we learned Latin. I did. Have I ever told you?
So useful. I use Latin every night.
Yeah, I did maybe 2 or 3 years of Latin. But let me tell you, Latin has helped me a hell of a lot with languages.
Yeah, this amazing hyper polyglot I interviewed, Abineza Antoine in Rwanda, he told me Latin and but especially Greek. He speaks like 27 languages. And he said like knowing some Latin and Greek just helped him unlock a lot of info. But yeah, it upsets me. Do schools teach Swahili in Kenya now, British schools?
Yeah, now they do. But I won't, we definitely needed Swahili at the time, but there was so much wealth that I got from Latin, because I can look into like Portuguese, or I can try with Spanish, Italian. You're like, oh, okay, I get it now, especially when you're reading it.
Yeah.
And I like how languages tell a story. I like looking at words and figuring out, oh, that's what the story is. Like somehow it's always like deciphering and putting things together and trying to understand. And that word came from there, and that's how it is in Portuguese, and that's how it is in French. And I find it fascinating.
So I'm assuming you use, since you're a filmmaker and a DJ, I'm assuming you use a lot of film and music in your language learning process. Do you have something that helps you, especially when you're learning a language?
Okay, interesting. So we didn't learn any kind of languages through music when I was young. It was very traditional. I found I learn best through being forced to speak, because I'm also very shy to speak. So I need to be like immersed in the country and in conversation. And this year, strangely, like the last year during COVID times, my French has improved, alhamdulillah, because I've just been, I listen to a lot of French music, not so much French, because I'm more into the Brazilian music. I think it's better, no offense to anyone. But I watch a lot of films in French without subtitles, and then try and go back. And I just, and French cinema, of course, is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I find watching conversation is a lot easier for me than song, because sometimes with song I'm not able to like follow what exactly, especially if it's Portuguese, I'm not completely sure. But of course, like Brazilian music, wow, it's just
it's gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. From what I understand, so Swahili has, shares some words with some different languages, and you're multilingual yourself, and you've studied various languages. So, and you're a storyteller, of course. So, are there languages for you that feel better to express this or that, or if do you dream always in English, or when you're listening, when you're choosing a film, like and you had to choose from different languages, how do different languages appeal to you in different ways? So for example, maybe when you hear brasileira música brasileira is more relaxing, or maybe to write in you enjoy mixing languages, or when you're choosing the music for your films, you choose some Arabic or some Swahili or some, which language speaks to you for what purpose?
Okay, interesting. Well, Swahili has a lot of Arabic words, a lot of our numbers. There's so much. So again, like even with Arabic, you're like, oh, so I understand that because that's where it comes from in Swahili. It's so fascinating. So, of course, I'd love to learn Arabic at some point, and I'm also a Sufi Muslim, so there's also that aspect of like Arabic that pulls me there, and there are things that I hear in the prayers, etc., that I'd like to know more of. Or if I'm reading the transliteration of the Quran, you're like, oh, okay, I'm piecing it together.
Yeah.
And I think Arabic cinema is also just great, and Arabic culture. And like I said, Brazilian music is just like, I just feel like I travel somewhere else. I feel so at ease. It feels so natural. It's like I'm kind of just blending in with everything. It just feels like it's part of my DNA, let's say. Hearing Italian spoken is very natural for me too. I love German. I love the way German sound. I love it. I wish I could speak it more. It also feels, I guess, because I grew up in Germany for like the first 3 years and went to crash there, I do think I wouldn't call it my mother tongue, but it's really in there. So it is in many ways very comforting for me. It feels like home.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have that with Thai, even though I left Thailand and forgot it all, basically. I think and it's the very first language that you are communicating in, I think it does stay somewhere in the back of your brain. When I restarted lessons last year, definitely think I made faster progress in it than I have in Tigrinya, for example. So even though I've been sweating over Tigrinya for years, I never had a sustained amount of time of hearing Tigrinya every day around me. And I had 3 years of that with Thai. So I definitely think it lives somewhere inside our heads.
Very interesting. And also I'm learning to horse ride, and the horse riding teacher is just incredible. He's an incredible Kenyan man that I think should have been given a lot more for what he has contributed to so many horse riders, like in the last 50, 60 years. He's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. I was talking about him with my mom just now, and I was almost started crying. He's really, oh wow, powerful guy.
He is.
Yeah, and people just, he trains people, they do competitions, and because he's like black and doesn't have money or whatever, people just like, so the white people, the rich people, the elite, they just use him and they carry on with what they're doing and never really acknowledge him. So Wilson, so we do speak in English, but most of the time he speaks to me in Swahili. So he gives me orders and tells me what to do. It's in Swahili, and it just feels so natural somehow for us to be communicating in that way.
Yeah.
And I find that quite interesting, that I'd prefer for him, because he could speak in English, but somehow I feel more connected to him. Somehow the language is bringing us closer. Though he's like fluent in English,
Yeah, I think it's really nice to learn something in a different language, because it takes, I feel, the stress off of, you already speak Swahili, but I feel it takes the stress out of the language focus. Like I'm distracted with something else. So I remember in the Philippines, my boxing coach would always kind of give me orders in Tagalog, you know, "Hapa!" And he would count in Tagalog and he would like repeat it. And yeah, so little words really stick with me. And I remember in Istanbul taking something like, I don't know, a yoga class, and the word for to hold something was toot. And so whenever I hear toot, I'm transported back to this yoga class in Istanbul, and like I hear it, you know, because you can hold your breath or hold on, or you know, so it's great once you really have a word anchored in your mind and you never lose it, then you can apply it to all manner of situations, and you weren't stressing about like, I have to learn this word. You were just living your life, learning something, and you learned it. It's nice.
That's amazing. But also I was thinking when I was writing, I was like, okay, when I go back to England, and if I am fortunate enough to continue with it, and the teacher is teaching me in English, it would just make me feel, maybe I'm being dramatic, but a bit like, again, it would colonize horse riding again. Because I find horse riding is a very, at least in our part of the world, in Eastern Africa, it's not a really, it's, if you're black, then you're elite to be doing it. It's not like the Caribbean, which I've heard that you have a lot of black people that ride horses. So anyway, that's another topic.
Yeah, I was surprised in Cameroon. I was there briefly in, when was it? Last year? Oh my gosh, last year I was in Cameroon, like January. And I saw quite a few people just riding a horse, like on the side of the road. And I just was like, oh, is this a thing here? Because it is associated with kind of elites and polo and that kind of stuff. So talking about travel, which I know you love and inspires you. So when you travel, do you find it easy to pick up basic expressions? Do you make a point of trying to pick up basic expressions when you travel, or do you wait when you're there and you hear it a bit first? Have you ever been somewhere with no intention of learning the language, and then you're like, this language is amazing, I need to get some of this?
Well, I guess numero uno, also being a filmmaker, is that I'm always wanting to immerse myself wherever I'm at. I want to be in it, and I get frustrated sometimes when I'm not in it.
Yeah,
you know, because you want to feel it and you want to hear how people think, and and I don't usually try and learn a language before, because I kind of want to be in the moment, you know, and also like, I believe in the power of spirit, and spirit will help you connect. So like, if you can learn a language like that, pop, chwa, you know, because you're more perceptive. Swahili is also very phonetic, you know, you can do stuff like that, and it's just so, I don't think it's only Swahili, but anyway. So I do try and learn when I'm there. I went to Istanbul like a while ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago, and I found it a bit tricky because, again, like, because I use Latin so much, or like with Swahili you have a bit of an Arabic or Bantu basis, so even when I lived in South Africa, you could kind of figure out sometimes words that could guide you. In Turkish it's like holy moly, that you just, it's up or down or sideways or whatever, you know. And of course, when a language is not written in the same alphabet, I could figure out the ch's, how they do the, you know, but still it was just like,
my favorite is the G with the smile on it that you just don't really say.
Oh, you don't say anything?
No, it makes the sound longer. So Uluda is a place there. It's also a drink. It's like a Sprite. And so it looks like Uludag if you were reading in English, right? But Turks would say Uluda. So you just blank that G with a smile on it. Yeah. Turkish is special. Special. Yeah.
Farsi is another language. Oh my, I love Iranian cinema, and Farsi. You can just take me to bed with that. Not take me to bed in that way, but I can fall asleep from the sound of the Turkish while you're on the other side of the room.
The podcast tagline: how to take Philippa to bed. Which language will take Philippa to bed? Now you have to give us a list of Farsi films to watch. I'm getting so much more than I bargained for here.
I know Iranian cinemas. One of my favorite.
I don't think I've watched any.
You'd like it. You'd really like it. Yeah.
I'd love to check that out. Cool. For anybody listening to this, I'm just going to take a little minute to repeat. You have to listen to Philippa's playlist because they are the most eclectic genre melding, blending, dancing, wonderful little time travel experiences. I love them. I go on my morning walk and I listen to your playlist and I travel so many different places and worlds and countries in one go. Asante sana.
Wow, Karibu, thank you.
No,
that's deep. That's the intention.
Thank you. And I know you put a lot of time and thought into them. They are landing on appreciative ears. And so to wrap up, my dear, talking about landing on appreciative ears, are there styles of music that you really like or songs you really like even though you have no idea what the lyrics are saying? Or have you ever fallen for a song without knowing at all what it's about?
Always. I mean, I have two favorites. One I think is in Creole, like from where I don't know. It's called C'est pas pour date. It's like, and some of it is in French, but I think it's from like let's say the French Caribbean, I think. But it's like zouk.
Yeah.
And I love Bilia Bell's. It's not called Tendresse. It's called and she sings some in French, some in Lingala. And I loved that song for like years, and I looked up the lyrics and I was like, this woman is speaking to me. I knew it. I knew it was about that, you know.
You sensed it. I have one of those songs actually, is also Lingala. It's Masu by Jolidetta and Franco. Masu.
Wow.
Masu. And then I was in a cab and it was playing. I was like, and the driver was Congolese. I was like, please tell me what she's talking about. I love this song.
Wow.
Apparently, from what I remember, so Masu was her friend, and her friend was kind of jealous. Songi, I think Songi means jealous. So he was kind of breaking the lyrics down for me, and I've never forgotten kind of a few little words. So I think Songi means jealous. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's funny. I had no idea, but I was like, this is just a killer tune. I want to know. And I really feel, so this book I mentioned to you earlier, The African Imagination in Music, this guy is talking to me in one of these chapters. He's talking directly to me because he really talks about how understanding even a little bit of the language gives you such a better connection with the song. So,
wow.
Yeah.
I'll definitely read it.
Yeah, I will hopefully be able to lend it to you in person soon. When I learn my 100 Swahili words and I power up my teleporter.
Yeah.
You'll be out horse riding and I'll just show up in the middle of a field. Hey.
Yeah. Speaking Swa, you know, speaking Swa to us.
Fluent.
Yeah, fluent with the teacher. Yeah. You know, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. So, my dear, I'm wishing you a lovely weekend. Thank you for taking part in this Swahili Through Music project with Beaux-Arts. And I will be speaking to you very soon and inviting you to the wrap up with the other artists. And I plan this weekend to dive into your latest playlist. So, asante.
Thank you. Karibu dada. Very well.
Languages to music.